The following is a Stars and Strikes doubles rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable recent programs.
WNDS Sports and Tri-State Megabucks present Stars and Strikes doubles. From the Londonderry Bowling Center, Stars and Strikes doubles features the best Candlepin bowlers from around New England in team competition. Stars and Strikes doubles is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Valcourt.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Londonderry Bowling Center and another edition and a brand new series, in fact, of Stars and Strikes doubles here on the Winds. I'm Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. Perhaps we should talk really quietly because people are going to try and ease into this day. Happy New Year, everybody. It's just noon on the morning after, so perhaps we got to keep it down a little bit.
Well, yeah, these guys have been practicing all night. They stayed away from all the parties, so they're ready to go.
Happy New Year, everybody. We're glad that you are able to spend part of your holiday afternoon with us. And we reward you with a brand new doubles series here on Stars and Strikes doubles. So let's right away meet the two teams that will be competing for you this afternoon to start the new year. First of all, our number 5 seeded team from Pennacook, New Hampshire, Kevin Davis. His partner is from Stoneham, Massachusetts, Rich Lottin.
Okay, and Kevin comes averaging 118. His roll-off score was 628. And Rich Lottin also at 118, and his roll-off score identical at 628.
Kevin, by the way, has been with us on several previous occasions. Rich Lottin is a newcomer, and we should talk about those roll-off scores a little bit later at 628. There's a story behind that. We'll get to that in a moment. First of all, though, our number 4 seeded team will be going up against Rich and Kevin today. From Grantham, New Hampshire, Dan Valcourt. His partner from Nashua, New Hampshire, Joe Ashline.
Okay, team of 2 veterans. Dan comes in averaging 123, roll-off score at 631. Joe Ashline at 129, his roll-off score 1 pin less at 630.
All right, of course, we start the brand new series, but of course, both of these teams are thinking about getting on a roll and possibly getting up to that championship match 3 weeks from today, a shot at the big money, and of course a shot at the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions. But lots of ground to cover before then. We'll set you up for this brand new series, let you know about the other bowlers that'll be coming up later on in the weeks ahead. But first of all, we'll take a timeout. We'll come right back. Don't go away. All right, here's our first look at the 10 bowlers who have qualified for this series here on Stars and Strikes doubles. John Maffeo and Dave Arsenault will be our number 1 team, and they have the 2 top scores, of course, followed by Reggie DeLine and Pat Pay. They're our number 2 seeded team. Dan Broder forms half of our number 3 team with Phil Clough at 639. And then the bottom 4, of course, are the 4 bowlers we see here today. Dan Valcourt and Joe Ashline as the number 4 team. Kevin Davis and newcomer Rich Lottin as our number 5 team. So here's the way the scores line up. When we combine them, again, the bowlers compete individually, and then the scores are added together, and that creates the teams and the total scores that you see on the screen right there. So it's Davis and Lottin number 5 against Valcourt and Ashline number 4, and we are set to begin the brand new year. Welcome to 1994. We promise we try and keep it down a little bit, just a little bit.
Well, here we have a brand new bowler for 94. Never been with us before. Rich Lottin.
From Stoneham, Mass.
So everybody's scrambling to turn the volume down now because this pin's falling. 189 for Rich.
We should have used those special quiet pins today.
Nerf.
And a 10 for Rich. Rich's partner is Kevin Davis. You could say, if you wanted to, that these are kind of the younger guys against the older guys.
What are you trying to say, Doug?
You could say that.
Come on now, what are you trying to say?
It's not a big difference, but
Could be a little passing of the torch, you mean? A little notch in their belt?
Well, I guarantee you one thing. Kevin Davis and Rich Lottin have got to be thinking about the fact that it would be quite an accomplishment to beat this team.
Oh, absolutely. They got the reputation. Of course, Danny Valcourt's been with us many times, and of course, Joe Ashline has been with us twice as long as that. So. So they certainly have the reputation. So I'm sure it would be a little feather in their cap if they could knock off this team.
And Joe starts off for his team. Joe Ashline, of course, already has qualified for the singles tournament of champions. Joe tried to finesse that spare a little bit, wasn't able to convert. Joe has already qualified for the singles tournament with a 441, and he starts with a 10. No bowler as yet this season has qualified for both events. No, Joe will have another look at a spare.
This time the 2 and the 5. All alone, no wood down there to help Joe. Looking for our first mark of the match, and not this time.
Two tens and an early 1-pin advantage. And now the second part of the rotation in this Scotch doubles format here on Stars and Strikes doubles, Kevin Davis.
See that ball really spinning as it goes down the lane. Wants his ball to break right to left a little bit.
You already had a look at the individual roll-off scores, and you noticed that Kevin Davis and Rich Lottin each had 628s. We mentioned them at the opening of the program. There actually was a three-way tie for 9th place in this roll-off sequence. Kevin Davis got 9th by virtue of the fact that he had a high game of 153. Rich Lottin was placed 10th by virtue of his 143 high game. And the odd man out was Bob Mazer, who also rolled a 628, but his high single was 137. So by virtue of that, he's not here, and the other two guys are. Great try by Kevin.
Poor Bob Mazer had the dubious task of giving you the scores after the roll-up was over. Double whammy there for poor Bob.
Absolutely.
Well, still looking for our first mark. Teams are pinning well. Just missing this, just sliding by the 10-pin.
And now Dan Valcourt.
Interesting Valcourt family. I was talking to Dan's father before the show. They have about 7 members of the family who have appeared on bowling shows.
Wow.
His father and mother, of course, his brother Danny. Dan's wife has appeared on our show. Dan himself. Joanne Vanderveer is his sister. Hope I didn't forget anyone, but is that 7, Doug? You were supposed to be counting.
I wasn't counting, sorry. Well, Dan got a big break on that first ball as he dropped it and took everything but the head pin, but then missed the spare opportunity, so he settles for a 10.
They assured me they weren't out last night partying, but so far we have no marks.
On the head pin this time, and there you go. Missed the head pin, dropped 9, hit the head pin, knocked 3.
Something wrong with this picture. 1, 5, and 8.
Dan will be sorely tested to keep this string of 10 boxes going that the team has. Dan Valcourt and Joe Ashline, the red team on today's program. Rich Lottin and Kevin Davis, the blue. And that will be an 8-box and a 1-pin lead for the team of Valcourt and Ashline.
That completes our first rotation, and Rich will be back up for his second go-round. A little different format where you have to wait 6 boxes in between turns, and sometimes have a tendency to take its toll too. At this time, the 1 and the 3 left for Rich.
You kind of have to stay mentally warmed up because it's difficult to keep physically warmed up in this format. And Rich Lottin with the spare using the wood. And that is the first mark of the day.
Now Rich moves over to lane 29 and he'll fill the spare. Off target, just 4.
You notice the name Pat Pay in our rundown of 10 bowlers for this series on Stars and Strikes doubles. Pat has also qualified for the current singles series, which will begin tomorrow at noon here on the Winds. So we invite you to tune in for that. Pat Pay will be the number 2 seed in singles as well. You'll hear more about that tomorrow. Tomorrow's match at 12 noon here on the Winds will be number 5 seed Dave Richards against number 4 seed Glenn Shattuck. Joe Ashline now looking for the first mark for his team.
Just barely caught the head pin. Got a decent break though. The 4-7 piece of wood in front.
This is the third 2-pin leave that Joe has had. And the first one that he's converted.
Spare in the 5th, matching the spare already put up by Davis and Lotti.
Joe Ashline with an average of 129. Dropping 7 on the mark.
And now a difficult one. 2-4-6. No playable wood to help him on the shot.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't need it.
Very nicely done. That
Say
one
that again.
is worth another look.
Watch the 2-pin jump over into the 6. Tough crowd.
Someone in the background saying anybody can make singles. Joe showed everybody a shot there.
Now Kevin's got a testy one. 1-7 and the 6 and a 10.
And a 9 box. There's 3 teams have already qualified for the doubles tournament of champions. Ed Gerolman and Brian Fuller at 4:30.
Oh, wow. Again, the 10-pin cost him a spare.
Bob Kelly and Dan Valcourt's brother Larry have already qualified with a 381. Stan Mayo and Scott Richardson qualified last week with a 347. Take another look at that spare attempt. That's a couple that Kevin has missed with the 10-pin.
Absolutely. Well, Dan has a chance to push his team's lead into double figures, already leading by 6 plus this fill.
No.
Make it 7 now? How does it happen? How can you just take one of those 10 pins out of there without knocking something else down?
Oh, same spot. And now Dan has completed the half Worcester.
And I'm sure he's real happy about that. Oh, great out.
Beautiful. For a 10 box. Playing it the old-fashioned way this time.
Yep. Slips. Looked like he was going to be left with a 5-pin, but cleared that one out for the 10. So made the spare count somewhat. 21 pins in those 2 frames, but not like he intended that spare.
Of course, the old-fashioned way also being the safe way if it's your 3rd ball.
That's probably has a lot to do with it. Now the 6-pin for another spare for Dan Valcourt. And he's all over the 6-pin.
Nice recovery for Dan. After the 1 fill, he cleans it up for a 10 and then adds a mark. Now Rich Lottin for the last 2 boxes of this first game. Rich from Stoneham, Mass. Does a lot of his bowling at the Melrose Bowl in Melrose.
It's a nice ball by Rich, but a real difficult spare. 3, 5, and 9.
Rich works for Carlisle Syntex Systems as a construction crew foreman. For the spare, no. and a $9. So it'll take a mark here in the 10th to get the team of Davis and Lotti over 100 for game 1. I want to take a moment to thank Bob Potter and all the folks up at Lamprey River Lanes in Newmarket, New Hampshire. The folks who handled the final roll-off for this series here on Stars and Strikes Doubles. For the spare? Yes.
Very nicely done in the 10th, 97 plus the bonus ball.
Rich Lottin, first appearance here on the Winds. Got a couple of marks in this first game. Now trying to put a nice fill on it, and it will be 8 more for a 105 for the team. So they will most likely be trailing going into game 2, but it's up to Joe Ashline as to how much that deficit will be. This is a mark fill right here. Spare left by Dan Valcourt. And Joe, as has been his habit so far, drops 8.
And just the 3 and the 5 left. Piece of wood just to the right of the 3-pin. And I dare say that would probably cost him the shot. Deflected the 3-pin in front of the 5.
And it's a 9.
And a 16-pin advantage. However, they're opposite a spare 8 now.
And that's a half Worcester left. Joe really whips that right arm around, doesn't he?
Generates a lot of power, a lot of speed with that arm swing.
So the lead is going to be in single digits after one game. An $8, a 111. Dan Valcourt and Joe Ashline with a 6-pin lead over Kevin Davis and Rich Lottin. We're back with game 2 in a moment here on Stars and Strikes Doubles. Well, before we get back to the action, we want to just take a moment to fill you in on a special charitable event that we're proud to be involved with here at Stars and Strikes Doubles, and that is the Park Place Lanes Bowl-a-thon to benefit the Salem Boys and Girls Clubs. And the event itself will actually be held 4 weeks from today on January 29th. But Dan Murphy and I are getting involved, and we'd like you to get involved as well. What Dan and I are going to do is bowl 3 strings against each other and help to raise money for the Salem Boys and Girls Clubs. And we'd like you to get involved by supporting either Dan or myself. You can either pledge a flat amount to help the Salem Boys and Girls Clubs, make your checks out to Bowl-a-thon, or you can pledge an amount per pin for either one of us. And then, according to what our final scores are, we'll send you a bill for the amount that you have pledged. So if you'd like to get involved, just send in your entry or your pledge to Bowl-a-thon, and then be sure to indicate Dan or Doug on the envelope. Park Place Lanes, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087, and be sure to include your full name and address so that if we have to mail something back to you, we can get in touch with you. Thanks very much. We're looking forward to it. It should be fun.
Be a lot of fun and a great cause. Great cause.
My psychological warfare has already begun.
I've been out practicing. Can't take this lightly.
That's what I'm hoping that you will.
3 and 5 left for Dan.
Actually, I'm kind of hoping you won't show, but...
You probably told me a different date.
Spare for Dan Valcourt.
Sorry, Dan, it was last week.
But I did real well. Dan Valcourt from Grantham, New Hampshire. Filling the spare with 8. Dan works as a contractor, does a lot of his bowling at Sunset Lanes in Newport, which is not a coincidence. And Dan and his wife Karen have twin sons, Doug and Dave. and a 4-year-old daughter, Beth. Dan a little disgusted at himself for missing that spare opportunity.
Well, he missed the object pin, and as you see there, he had room to play it to the left using that wood, but it didn't happen for him. But spare 8-10, 28 after 2.
Kevin Davis. Again, you saw that graphic a moment ago. He finished 9th in the roll-off, but he finished 9th by virtue of the fact that he rolled the highest single game among the 3-way tie for 9th. Rich Lottin and Bob Mazur actually both had identical roll-off totals.
Oh boy, disappointing 6. And that pushes the lead back up to 18 by virtue of the spare 8 opposite that 6. Sometimes by throwing a bad box like that, kind of lights a fire under the bowler. You know, Kevin, the competitor he is, sliding by there. A little more zip on the ball with that first ball in this frame. However, no mark to show for it. He'll come away with a 9 and just 15 pins for those 2 frames.
And now the lead all of a sudden up to 19. Big first ball for Joe Ashline, but look at the result. 8, 9, and 10.
2 pieces of wood flat in front of him, though. Tell me those 2 pieces of wood aren't going to get punished with this ball. Looks like he hits it right where they meet. Got a good chance of making all 3 pins. There it goes.
Actually went a little bit to the left of the...
Actually, he did. Got the
junction.
10 pin from behind.
Yep. That's 5 marks for the team of Valcourt and Ashline. Joe just sliding by the head pin. He just missed it.
Decent break, though. Just the 1 and 2 pins left. 8-pin fill on the spare. Chance for another.
Yes. 3 marks in 4 boxes to start game 2 for the team of Ashline and Valcourt.
And obviously, a team like Valcourt and Ashline, you don't want to let them run too far ahead. Rich Lottin for the 3rd and 4th frames really needs some offense.
Just slipping by the head pin to the left. Rich Lottin, one of 2 newcomers that will appear in this series on Stars and Strikes doubles. Dave Arsenault is the other. We'll see him in our championship match.
Oh, nice 10 box by Rich Lottin. Watch, plays the head pin. Head pin takes the 6-10. Now he needs a mark.
Again off target. Not a bad break there, though.
A similar shot. He had the 1, 6, 7, 9 pins, or 8 pin, I should say, last box for a 10. He's going to have to play the head pin. Hopefully the head pin or the ball will get down to take out the 6 and 10. Oh, what a shot.
Oh, great shot.
Great shot is right.
We'll have another look at that one, I think, as we head out to a commercial break. Spares up for each team in the 4th, almost at the halfway point here on Stars and Strikes doubles.
Dan Valcourt on lane 30, filling a spare.
Another 8 drop.
He wants to be a little careful with the 9 pin. Although there is a second piece of wood, as you can see, behind the 9 pin. Watch out. Oh, it's enough to keep it in play.
3 in a row for the team. They're having an outstanding second game here. Dan's back on the head pin.
And another 8-pin drop. However, this time a little farther apart. Well,
not quite enough.
The 8 and 10 piece of wood, you're just going to have to probably hit that piece of wood red line or to the left, and hopefully the ball will come back in play for the 10 pin. A little lady luck here. Ooh, came back on the plate.
Still 92 through 6 for Valcourt and Ashline. Kevin Davis now to fill a spare. Left by his partner, Rich Lottin. And there's an 8 drop. And a different kind of a shot. The 210, there is a piece of wood directly behind the 2-pin. You can't see it.
That could help him.
No.
Never touched it, but he almost cut the 2 into the 10.
Kevin from Pennacook, New Hampshire. Works in food service for the Pepsi-Cola company. Does a lot of his bowling at the Lakeside Lanes and also at Boutwell's Bowling Center. You didn't know that, did you? Maybe he just wrote that down to make you feel good.
Maybe not. He shows up for a lot of the roll-offs and things. These days I'm going to make him a league bowler at Boutwell's. That's what we want. Speaking of Boutwell's.
Yes?
Not really speaking of Boutwell's, but we were host of this year's New Hampshire Sweeps tournament, and the scores are being double-checked now. When we get the winners, we will mention them on the air, but I did have a number of people come up because I was there, and they started talking about the show and the amount of enjoyment people get out of watching the two shows, which I thought that was really great because I thought he was really complimenting me. Well, had nothing to do with it really because they talked about the bowlers, but they talked a lot of people talked about the quality of the show itself, and it's because of those people that you never see behind the scenes, the crew, the camera people, and so my hat is off to you people. They do speak of the quality of the show, and you are to be congratulated. And I told them flat out, you wouldn't want to see most of them anyways. Just kidding, guys. Of course, well, Kim is fine, but the rest of this crew, I mean, it's kind of scary sometimes.
As always, underappreciated, and
yes,
I echo your sentiments exactly. And the spare for Joe Ashline after an unusual 9 drop.
It's their 5th mark, all spares in this second string. And really pushing the lead, getting the lead up to close to 40 pins now. Rich is going to have something to say about that. Everything but the 5.
That was almost the first strike of the match.
That's right, we haven't had a strike yet, have we?
That's mark number 4 for the team of Lotti and Davis, all spares.
Well, now that we've mentioned the strike, next couple boxes, yeah.
A little high that time for Rich. 6 drop.
And a difficult spare because of the placement of that wood. To make the shot, obviously you're going to have to go after the 3-6, but he has a wood that's blocking him. You may have to try to play the inside of the 3, come off the wall. No, missed the 3-pin entirely. That's what he wanted to do.
Fine, $10.
That's a sign of a little confidence right there. Instead of taking the one with a piece of wood behind it, which you could miss right or left and get the $9, he elected to go after the 3-pin and get the 10.
Dan Valcourt filling Joe Ashline's spare with an 8. And another mark. Oh, the first 5 marks in this game, as you can see, all filled with 8s for Ashline and Valcourt. Not this time.
Wow, that was strange. Just strange. Looked like the ball was in the 1-3 pocket. Leads himself to diamond, 2, 4, 5, 8, plus the 10 pin.
Of course, we should mention, talking about our crew, that Jim McLean, who is normally with us, not here today here on Stars and Strikes Doubles because he's spending the holidays in Scotland. The crew, of course, sending Jim away so that he could study production techniques in Scotland.
Well, before he left, I talked to him, and I think he's looking for a site so we can tape Stars and Strikes over in Scotland.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'd go. Never been there. Love to go.
1, 2, 6, 9, and 10.
Oh, fine shot. And a big shot, too, because with that 5 fill for Dan Valcourt in the 9th, a chance here for Davis and Lotti to make up a little ground. Ashline and Valcourt wound up with a 142 in this middle game. Kevin Davis looking to make some hay here late.
Well, that tops the 5 fill that Valcourt and Ashline have. However, this would be the one to cut into that lead. Oh, mercy. Wow. Got the 3 and the 10, left the 6. Can't help the wood cost him that shot.
10 box, 114, and a 2-game total of 219, but it's 253 for Valcourt and Ashline, a 34-pin advantage for the veterans, with 1 game to go here on Stars and Strikes Doubles, and we'll be back in a minute. Kevin Davis to start game 3.
And he's got to start in a hurry. 4 horsemen left, 1, 2, 4, and 7.
Nope. And a 9 box. So far, 14 marks in this match, 9 of them for the team of Valcourt and Ashline, and all of the marks today have been spares. Boy, and another kind of a funny hit for Kevin Davis. Looked pretty good on the way down, and
He crossed over in the 1-2, and that ball went right to the left sidewall. Didn't get any advantage from hitting one of the pockets at all.
and that's a 7. Don't forget, tomorrow at noon here on the Winds, our new singles series begins. Dave Richards against Glenn Shattuck in match number 1. Here's Joe Ashline.
The 3, 7, 10. I try to take a piece of that wood looking at him. Yes, he does, and
Nope.
everything but the 7.
Joe from Nashua works as a salesman for Cronin Electronics, does a lot of his bowling at the Leda Lanes in Nashua. Joe and his wife Robin have 3 children, 4.5-year-old Derek, 2.5-year-old Cody, and 4-month-old Amanda. And a big strike. There is strike number 1 in this match. And that was a big one for Joe Ashline.
Certainly was. He gets in the 1-2 pocket, but nice and tight. Trips the 6-spin for the strike. And as Doug said, first one of the match.
And adds to the lead. Rich Lottin. $8 for Rich. Rich lost that one off to the right. We'll try and throw the recovery ball.
Well, kind of dial 911 now, I guess. Still looking at 6 pins, 1 ball to go. And a pretty good out, but just 33 pins now through 4. Trailing by 37, but that's going to increase now with Dan Valcourt's fill on the strike.
The team that wins this match today will advance to face Dan Broder and Phil Clough next week. Almost the double strike. And the spare. Dan taking no chances on that one.
Some 39 plus the fill.
Oh, that ball just hopped when he dropped it on the lane.
Yeah, actually, he dropped that a little bit before the foul line. Timing a little bit off for Dan Valcourt.
Still, though, the lead is up over 50 at the moment. May not stay there, depending on what Dan does with this mess. The 1, 4, 5, 7, and 10. Just catches the head pin, what he needed to do, and he bails out with a 9. So we will take a break, and the lead does, in fact, stay over 50. 6 boxes to go. Match 1 of a brand new series to start the new year here on Stars and Strikes Doubles. Kevin Davis. The team needing strikes.
Absolutely. It does get a break when the 7 pin goes down. Just the 3 pin now for Kevin.
And he just covers it for the spare. Mark number 6 for the team.
A little smile out of Kevin on that. I think he thought he might have gone by it, but doesn't look any different than the rest of the spares up on the scoreboard. Let's see, 6 and
2 rocking.
Yeah. Half dozen, 4 horsemen right this time. 1, 3, 6 and 10. Oh, pull the ball to the left. Just can't seem to sustain any offense.
$8. Joe Ashline on the head pin, solid. Dropping 8.
6-10, 4-7 left. Just a piece of wood in front, should be no problem for Joe.
Right there. That is mark number 12 for the team of Ashline and Valcourt, and they've got an outside shot here at a 400 triple. Need a 147 in order to get it. Right through the middle, just 3. And Joe's got work to do. This is one of those matches, Dan, where even though Ashline and Valcourt are up by almost 50 pins, I don't think any of these 4 bowlers are particularly pleased with the way they're throwing.
I've seen all of them a little sharper than they are today.
Rich Lottin for his final 2 now. And this will be an interesting leave. He knocked down 7. 4 of them are still on the plate. The 7, 8, and 10 are up.
He might just go after the 8-pin, drive right straight through the wood. That's what he's trying. Nice shot.
That did it for the spare. Lotti and Davis trying to put on some kind of a charge if they can, but it'll take strikes from this point on. And they've yet to throw one. There it is. Well, it starts with 1, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Can't get 2 in a row until you get 1.
Good way for Rich Lottin to finish up his work for the day. Dan Valcourt now.
2, 5, 7, 10. Piece of wood angled between the 2 and the 5, which should help him with the 10-pin. Got a shot at making this if he's on the 2.
Yes. Had to be patient with it, but the 7-pin goes out. No time limit. And 9-pin drop for Dan. No. Sliding by.
A slight opening for the team of Davis and Lotti.
That'll be a 9-box. Well, if Kevin Davis were to throw a strike right here on this first ball, might make things a little more interesting.
I'm sure that's what he's thinking.
In the pocket, but not quite enough. And just missing on the spare.
It's a number of times the 7-pin or the 10-pin has cost Kevin some marks in today's match.
So it will be Joe Ashline and Dan Valcourt advancing to next week's match against Dan Broder and Phil Clough. 2 more guys who have been here quite a bit. A 10 for Kevin, a 116, and a 3-game total, 335 for the team of Lotti and Davis.
Well, each game, they were going up each game, but unfortunately that they faced the 142. That was probably the turning point in the whole match. Just fell behind that second game and never really made a serious charge, maybe until that 7th and 8th frame, but wasn't to be today.
Oh, Joe Ashline almost converts the half Worcester. And the 10. So it won't be a 400 for the team of Ashline and Valcourt, but it will be a win. They're at 361 right now. And Joe will have a chance to add another mark, depending on what this wood does. Turning for him. And the spare. That will be mark number 14 for the team. On the head pin, and that's the way to finish it in style. Strike on spare, 15 marks for the team of Valcourt and Ashline. A 128 final game and a 381. Enough to advance to next week, and we'll talk about next week's match and more here on The Wins right after these words. Welcome back here to Stars and Strikes Doubles, and let's bring up our runners-up, Kevin Davis and Rich Lottin. Come on up, guys. We have checks for you, fifth prize money to share $150, and I know it's really tough to bowl on New Year's Day, so we appreciate you coming in. Tough party last night, huh?
Yeah, it was. It was rough.
Rich, again, congratulations, though, on your first appearance. Probably not the way you had hoped it would turn out, but it was really a tough day for all four of you guys. I don't think really Joe and Dan were particularly pleased with the way things went for them either. It was just that kind of a day.
The pins just weren't falling as good as they usually would, but those are breaks.
Well, we're happy that you made your first appearance, and we hope you enjoy the holidays and come back and see us again real soon, both of you. All right, congratulations.
He just needed a partner.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see if we can get him one next time then. Thanks, Kevin. Kevin Davis and Rich Lottin. And now let's bring up Joe Ashline and Dan Valcourt. One win in the books, and they'll be headed to next week. Welcome up, guys. Have a stand right over here, Dan. And yeah, first time on TV, Dan.
Sorry.
I was saying during the show that I don't think even you guys in winning were particularly thrilled with the way things went. It seems like there were some opportunities lost and so forth.
I'm thrilled, personally.
Joe, how about you? Thrilled?
Hey, we won. That's all that matters right now.
Bottom line, I guess. All right, next week we've got Dan Broder coming in, and Phil Clough will be his partner.
Well, we're ready.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy the new year. And something else you had to say?
I wanted to wish one of your longest fans Happy New Year, and that'd be my grandmother in Hudson, New Hampshire.
Well, that's terrific. That's terrific. Happy birthday indeed. And we appreciate you guys coming by. We'll see you next week as you try and make it two in a row. Thanks very much. Congratulations, Dan. Joe, thanks a lot. And here's what will be happening next week. It'll be our number 3 seeds, Dan Broder and Phil Clough, stepping in, as they had that roll-off combined score of 1284, just about 23 pins better than Ashline and Valcourt, and next week they'll get a chance to face it off and decide it right here at Londonderry.
Well, it's 23 pins better, but they start even next week, so they'll have to be a little sharper, I think, next week against that team.
Happy New Year, sir.
Same to you, and to all of you.
Absolutely. To everyone, a Happy New Year. We hope that you enjoy the rest of the holiday weekend. And don't forget to join us next Saturday for our next edition here on Stars and Strikes Doubles. But don't forget also, we have a brand new series starting on the singles program over at Park Place Lanes. That'll be tomorrow at noon here on The Winds. It'll be Glenn Shattuck challenging Dave Richards. We hope to see you then. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, I'm Doug Brown. Have a good weekend, everybody.